Hello and welcome. Today we've got Michael Jaco, former CIA and Navy SEAL. And today we are going to be discussing gun violence, inflation, June the 6th, D-Day, remote viewing on Election Day, November the 8th. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview. As long as we choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. I just wanted to also remind everyone that I've launched my We the People 1 ounce silver coin, which supports the channel and helps us to continue to provide you with the best interviews and the information and research. Michael Jaco, thank you for joining me, sir. How are you and what have you been up to?
Doing great, Nicholas. Doing shows, working out, staying focused, learning to, keep my focus so we win this war that we're in right now. So I think that a lot of us are focused really hard on that. So you talk about June 6th, 1944 was the D-Day landing. So it's kind of celebrating that today. I think they pretty much suppressed that in the media because it used to be a very big event. But we're kind of like, back in June 6, 1944, that was where we came in and destroyed the Nazis. So I think we're probably going to go through that process again here, and we are going through that process. So that's possibly why their controllers in the media have basically, squashed this event because it doesn't look good for them. So then we move on to gun violence. So gun violence is they want to control the guns. Every time evil people in power, political realms of power have controlled guns. They've basically destroyed their countries. We saw that in Germany before World War II. We see that right now in Venezuela. We saw that in China. We saw that in Russia, or actually the Soviet Union. Russia has gotten rid of their baddies. And we're going to see that again in other places unless we stand up and push back. Like here in America, it seems like, we're a captured operation right now. But I think there's a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes that's taking care of a lot of that and basically squeezing that. Just like the D-Day landing happened, we're having those events that are happening right now across the world, I think, that take these guys out for once and for all and for good.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Also, I wanted to ask you, what are the chances of the deep state being successful in removing guns away from the citizens?
So they're definitely blowing that up here in America. They're claiming there's just a outbreak of mass shootings. Now I've looked at them. I can tell from my background as a Navy SEAL and in working for the CIA, how these events are basically manipulated. So there's a manipulation, we call these things a certain flag event. And because of those flag events, they push a narrative, which is, to take away guns from the people. We've seen that in Canada recently, where there was shootings here in America that were by rifles, yet in Canada, they took away handguns. So it's basically a gun steal by these corrupt political, Germany type characters. So we'll be careful with that because we want to have this live on YouTube. So, but I think people can put this together. Here in America, they're pushing it very hard. Of course, they have their media arm that has been pushing this very hard. If we look at gun violence, I'm looking at a chart right now. The number of mass shootings in the U.S. is either 6 or 818, depending on which category of, mass shootings you use. So if we look at Mother Jones and the Violence Project, there were 6 mass shootings. So how do they come to those numbers? A mass shooting is when 3 or more people are killed in a public place and it's indiscriminate. That's the normal way you look at a mass shooting event. So 6 last year, unless you look at it from the media's point of view, where they take 4 or more killed or injured, including the shooter, and it can happen anywhere. And it doesn't matter if any kind of incident, it doesn't matter. That categorizes it as a mass shooting. So that makes it up to 818. So you can see how these guys will take these numbers and play with them and blow them up. Now, they don't take into account the people that stop shooters with handguns or other guns. They also don't take into account that there's far more people that are killed by fists and knives than are killed by guns. So why do they want to take the guns? Because the guns basically stop, their armies, stop them from holding power and so forth. You go back from every time throughout history where tyranny was trying to assert itself, the people had guns. It didn't happen. The people didn't have guns, or their guns were taken away. Then tyranny came in and took over. So that's what we're facing right now. So we have to push back on the narratives that these guys keep pushing. They're false narratives. They try to spin up the emotions of people and then pass laws which take those weapons away. It's been done over and over and over in country after country after country. And they're really coming down hard on America now.
But what do you think the likely chance of them actually removing the guns of the citizens? Because they've never really been successful, have they?
Not here in America. And I don't think it's going to really happen in Canada either. There's just as many guns owned by citizens in Canada as there are in America. So they have a lot of guns as well. I don't believe they're going to give them up. It remains to be seen how they might press that. I think that might be overstepping bounds, but it remains to be seen. Like I said, here in America, I can pretty much guarantee you in most of the states, that's not going to be allowed whatsoever. There's some states that are fairly captured operations. I think California, Illinois, New York, they might get away with it to a certain extent, but the people that are, in the countryside and so forth, they're not going to give up their guns. The people in the city, they don't have the guns, and it's mayhem in the cities in most of those states right now. So I don't see how people can not justify owning guns. But if, like I said, if the emotions are captured through their MK Ultra, mind control press that knows how to work emotions and keep that disinformation flowing, then you're going to continue to have people like backing this evil takeover of guns.
So what is it exactly that the deep state want to achieve by removing guns from the citizens?
Complete power, complete control. So there won't be any voting. There won't be any resistance from anyone. They'll be able to enslave the population like it seems they want to do. Have whatever system of medical tyranny they want to impose, lockdowns. No one can resist. No one will be able to resist. We saw during this last lockdown evolution, they enforced something into the arm, an experimental thing that went into the arm that's proving to be quite bad. If we look at, take for instance, the number of children that have been killed in these supposed gun violence is ongoing right now, because I think the numbers on that are very suspect. I think they're kind of like those flag events I was talking about. There might be some that were, but I don't think the numbers that they're talking about is accurate or correct. So if we look at the numbers that they're stating have perished around 43. If we look at the VAERS report, the numbers of children that have had adverse events where they have actually died from that experimental thing in the arm has been 44. And we all know that the VAERS reporting is like only 1% of what the actual reporting is. So obviously it's a major event on that end, but they're covering that up. So it's very obvious when you look at the preponderance of information that's out there of what they're trying to do. They're trying to control, they're trying to make money, they're manipulating their power. For instance, in New York, they just opened up another nighttime airport where they're shipping illegal aliens, flying them into New York. So 2 airports now every night are getting illegal aliens. And the governor of New York is saying that she's going to give them free medical care. So why are they doing that? Because they want to win this next election cycle, and they're doing everything in their power, including bringing in illegal aliens and giving them voting rights. So they're voting in some of these states to allow illegal aliens that are coming in the right to vote.
So when we look at the behavior of the deep state previously, where, for an example, they've tried to defund the police, how does that destabilize the citizens? How do you think that affects the citizens when on top of this, they want to take away the guns from them?
Yeah, it's to create chaos. So behind the scenes, when that chaos is being committed, they can pass laws that are restrictive. They can pass, for instance, gun laws that take away gun rights where no one's looking. They blow it up in the press. So they basically empty the jails here in America. Then they started taking away the police. And then they started taking away the power of the police. And then they opened the borders. So all of these criminal gangs are coming across the border. Criminal gangs are being released from prisons. And you're having this chaos that's starting to hit pretty much every major city in the U.S. So every morning you're hearing of shooting events in a lot of these cities. Some of this is by design. I think most of it's by design, actually. Some of it is just because you have criminals running around and they know that they're going to start violence because they're criminals. That's what criminals do, especially violent criminals. So they release a lot of violent criminals from jails all across the country. And it's reaching epic proportions as far as violence and attacks against citizens across the U.S. Now, what stops this? What turns this around? Just like D-Day, you have to come in and you have to regain control of a situation. Is there going to be a D-Day type event? No, it's going to be like me and you sharing information and bringing awareness to people. So they're like, no more of this. We're going to push back and we're going to stop this. So it takes, the average citizen, because the average citizen back in World War II was fully on board with World War II. It took that kind of commitment and effort to end World War II. So what is it going to take to end this particular war that we're in right now? It's going to take the same thing, commitment and resolve and focus of the citizens. How is that focus and resolve? It's by increasing awareness. By that increase in awareness, we don't let them come in and start their ridiculousness. Like, for instance, the pox that's getting ready to spread. So they pick a group that they want to, be the bad guy. The last time was those people that didn't want to take that experimental thing in the arm. Now it's going to be people of a certain persuasion sexually. So they've had all these parties all over the world where, gays and so forth are, having a great time, and they're blaming them for the spread of this pox. So someone has to be the victim. Someone has to be part of the blame. And that's the way these guys work as well. So I think that's horrific. They don't need to be blamed. No one needs to be blamed because this is something that they have started again. So we need to, not get off focus, not get off track, even though the numbers that they're saying last week, I think there was like 200, 300 cases worldwide. Now there's 800. So they're going to, looks like they're going to blow this thing up again.
How comes we are not seeing it being blown up as quick as the original lockdowns we had 2 years ago? Why haven't so far we have not been locked down if it's the wishes of the deep state to do that again? And do you think that is the case?
Yeah, it's definitely the wishes because they have to, like I said, they have to stop out this next election somehow. This next election here in the United States on November 8th is going to be because the economy is in shambles. Economies around the world are collapsing. Here in America, inflation is skyrocketing at levels haven't been seen before. It's going to, bite them because it's always about the economy, stupid. That's one of our former presidents, Clinton, said that one time. and he's a Democrat. So these guys are not looking real good in this next election term cycle. They're pushing back on all the illegal activity that happened in the last one, cleaning things up. So it looks like, with the amount of people that are, pushing back, because I'm looking at a graph right now, there's 71% of Americans are unsatisfied with Biden's work right now. 71%.
Wow.
No president has survived, or no party has survived with those kind of numbers of negativity. So it's basically a death rattle for the Democrat Party. So they have to do something to stop the election, or like they're doing, bringing in illegal aliens to pump the numbers up like they do, or have machinery like we've seen in last, manipulate those votes. So we'll see something about that. I think there's a big pushback on a lot of that stuff, and we'll definitely have some problems. Now, in my remote views about this coming election, I've seen that it does not happen. All right, and I've heard from other people that it doesn't happen. These are billionaires that are very much in touch with what's going on, and they were in touch with who would be elected last time, and they were accurate. I thought that these guys were completely wrong. They also knew how long the lockdowns were going to last. They also knew, when they would stop and when they could start their businesses up. They already knew that like a year before. So these things are planned. A lot of people are privy to that information, and they adjust their businesses accordingly. Now, as we move forward, we move to that time frame of having that election. Like I said, all the odds everything is stacked against the current administration and the Senate and the basically Congress of the United States. So we'll probably see, if that election were to go forward, we would see massive numbers of a red tide come in that was suppressed in previous. This time, because of a lot of fraud that's been discovered and stopped out, the election will probably go forward and be very decisive against these people that are basically controlling us right now. So what's going to happen? What do I see in the remote view? So I looked 1 week before and 1 week after November 8th, and I still don't see an election going down. Now I see that possibly some states like Florida, Texas will still conduct their election, but I don't see too many other states. Maybe a handful of other states still do the election. I see a darkness. So I know that there's a lot of volcanoes that are going off. When I do a remote view of, further back until around October, I see massive earth change events. So these earth change events, and I just recently looked this up today, just before the show. I'm like, okay, so I think there's going to be a lot of volcanic activity. I've been doing this remote view over the last couple of days, and I've been putting out to my private channel. But currently erupting volcanoes, 21 around the world. It's like double the average, more than double the average. If you look at volcanoes that are in minor activity, there's another 12. So what would make the sky dark? It's happened before in the past where there's been massive volcanic activity, where it happened with Mount Etna during when Pompeii was destroyed. They say that was one of the reasons why Rome fell, because that volcano blasted ash into the air and surrounded the fields, ash on the fields. So growing stopped. Also dark clouds, dropped the temperature 2 degrees. So would that happen again? Of course, it's actually overdue on the Pacific Northwest, where they usually have volcanic activity and maybe a tsunami. So I predicted also a tsunami event that would happen along the West Coast in the coming months as well. So we'll see. That would be very tragic. I think that consciousness, as I put out many times, can change a timeline. So that's why a lot of times I put out this information so that people can look at some of these things. So just like I was looking at darkness, dark clouds and whatever What causes that? Volcanic activity. Now I'm looking at the volcanic activity. It's going through the roof right now. So we're still many, many months out from my projected time period of October when things really blow up. So it starts to heat up before it really blows. So we have to keep an eye on this. And like I said, consciousness can have a direct effect on this. If we don't want this to happen, we need to pray. We need to get involved, use our love, energy, vibrational thought forms and so forth, and start to put that out there and change a possible, probable timeline into a non-event. So can that be manipulated? So I believe it will be tried to be manipulated. I saw that the Canary Islands, I saw that was mined and they were trying to kick that off. And I said that would not happen. And I said that they were going to go in and basically take down the mining that they had put in to basically cause an event. So that event didn't go down. We also saw what I predicted that North Korea, everybody says North Korea is going to be, they're going to like shoot nuclear missiles. I said, no, it's not going to happen. Calm down. It's not, and it didn't happen. So I see things. I know when things are going to happen, and I know when things are not going to happen. So no one's really focused on this right now. So I want to bring attention, and not to scare people, but to bring attention to it so that we push back on it, overcome it. There's a lot of things that are coming at us right now. So all of these different events, I believe, are being triggered by those negative rulers that have a lot of different power. They have directed energy weapons. They can put nuclear bombs in certain areas and cook off, earthquakes, volcanoes, whatever they want. So we have to, be aware of that, push back on it. I think that the Fukushima incident, the massive earthquake that happened in Japan several years ago, I think that was also a fault line nuke that they set off, because all the experts were like, there's no way this could have happened. We were expecting maybe an 8.3, but when you have a 9, it's like every point up is like 1,000 times more intense. So extremely intense volcano. And when I saw Fukushima had a problem, I said right away, that's going to be a massive problem for the earth. And people attack me. Of course, I get this all the time. I did the same thing with this weapon that came out. This is going to be a problem. And, people attack the messenger sometime, but we have to start to look at this stuff, take away your blinders and the way you think things are going to work, because they don't work that way here right now. You have to be broadly based, open-minded to things that are coming. So consciousness can have an effect if we're on the front end of it. After it happens, it's a challenge. So I think that all of the nuclear waste that was happening, that was going into the sea, I think that was cleaned up by, and a lot of people have said this, extraterrestrial activity that basically cleaned that up, because we wanted it to be done. All right. We did not want that activity to come and, pollute our earth. So I think that a lot of times when our consciousness gets involved, there is help that will come to us. So it can be the same thing for these events that are coming down the road.
So what is the reason exactly why you think that the deep state want to, suppress the November the 8th event that's coming up?
Because
Do you think that they're afraid that Trump is somehow going to wiggle himself back in?
Absolutely. And, the puppets they have in power right now win, because at some point there will be an election, whether it's delayed or whether it happens like it should be, which I hope it does. It will be the end of this deep state that's in control right now, because their power base is here in the U.S. So once they're taken down, which would happen after an election. So after the election, somewhere in January, when they start to come in, they will start proceedings to basically impeach Biden and impeach Kamala. Both of them will be impeached. So what that leaves is the Speaker of the House to come forward. So Nancy Pelosi will be gone. She won't be voted back in. She won't be in power. So anyone can be voted in to the Speaker of the House. anyone. So yes, there is a possibility, a very strong possibility that he could come back. He doesn't have to be in office. Mm-hmm. He's already served office. He's not going to go back. A lot of people are like, he should be a congressperson or senator. He doesn't have to be, right? He can be voted in. So that's what I see coming. That's what a lot of people see coming. Whether it happens or not depends on our consciousness, because everything that is happening right now is the past. You and I looking at each other right now, there's a time lag. Even though it's microseconds, there is a time lag from when your view or your picture comes to me, and the same thing with you. If you're sitting at a desk, if you're sitting at a table, you look at the table. The light that comes from that table to your eye takes milliseconds of time that's passed. So you were seeing the past. We're always responding to the past. Some of us can look into the future. It's very easy. All of us really can. All of us can create the future that we want. So look into the future, use your imagination, and create the future you want. We do that together, it's going to happen.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned that you when you remote viewed that the November the 8th event did not happen. Why do you believe that it did not happen? What happened to it?
I think there's multiple reasons. One could be, and they have these, I think they have these plans. They have backups to a backup to a backup. That's the way every military operation is. You have different backups to you do a mission. You have many different ways. If something doesn't happen right, then you switch and you go with another plan. So one of their plans, I believe, is like I'm talking about, earth change event that's so massive that it basically is so catastrophic, and the cleanup and the horror from it and everything is so traumatic that basically elections don't go down. All right, that doesn't happen. So the other plan is to basically use another attack to basically shut down everything again. And this one may be so horrible or blown up to be so horrible that it has to be locked down, or at least they say we have to lock down again. And they get more aggressive with the lockdown. And you can imagine what more aggressive might be. So that's another option. I think that's open to them. I'm sure they have many other plans. They don't happen if we start to focus on making sure those elections go down and pushing back on any kind of control that they might try to implement, like gun control, like you have to stay in your house again. You have to, all the different mandates that they might come out with, have to push back on all that stuff. I know it's tough because people have already succumbed to it once, and it's a lot easier to succumb to that. Just like, whatever you want, I'll do it. Just let me live my life in peace. So you're going to have a lot of people that are still going to go with that type of mentality. It was easier for them this last time. And some of them feel like they did the right thing still. Even though a lot of people get that experimental thing, that thing didn't last but a couple of weeks, and still people got it, and still people got sick and spread it and all that kind of crazy stuff. We're seeing that. But we still see people that, even though all those dots are there, they can't connect them, that this is not that it didn't work. It was a lie. It was a forced lie, and people went along with it and forced it on other people. So will that happen again? Very possibly, because we've already seen it happen. They have the mind control apparatus. They've done it once. They'll implement it again. They'll be more virulent with it this next time. Now we have this thing that boils all over the skin. They start showing stuff like that, and people all over the place getting it. It could have a traumatic effect on people.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about inflation. You say that we are changing into a different, or we're going into a different financial system, and we're leaving the old system. What exactly is going on, and when do you think we will see the banks collapse?
Well, the banking system, I don't think completely collapsed like overnight. I think it's a long-term event. They've already started collapsing. I've been talking about this for well over a year, probably about a year and a half, where you can see banks are closing down all over the place. A lot of people have been talking to their bankers, and they're like, well, we have this system that's already in. that we're getting ready to go to, and we're just waiting for the word. So there's all kinds of information like that that's floating around at their quantum financial system. Crypto will be utilized when all the fiat currency collapses, like we're starting to see, like we saw with Germany back before World War II. It's the same process. They're doing the same process again that they did before in Germany. They're doing it all around the world now. So when those fiat currencies collapse and something has to replace it, what is that? Some type of new forced control system. Or if we beat them at their game, which I believe we will, then we have a quantum crypto currency. Now, I think that comes in sometime in the early part of next year. So that is where things are moving. It depends on how violent they push to do these like earth changes or new lockdowns, mandates, and so forth. So we have to, and gun grabs and all kind of crazy stuff they're doing right now. Bringing people over the border to be voting for them, to keep them in power. So you have a lot of different things that are rolling. They're good planners, and they have a plan that's been in motion for a long time. They planned this for decades and decades, and these wheels are in motion. Even though a lot of them are being taken out of power, you still have this locomotive that's moving down the tracks, even though most of the cabooses are on fire or have fallen off. They still keep this train going because they've done this before in the past, and they've been able to push their agendas on the world many, many, many times. This is the 7th time in our history since Atlantis. So 6 other times we failed. This time, the 7th time, we've gone farther than we ever have since the fall of Atlantis. So is this the one that we win at? Yes, this is the one we win at. Now, what does that look like? It looks like what we create it to be, because that's what consciousness does. It creates what it wants. And when you have a group of people that are focused, just like we were on World War II, ending brutal occupation by negative forces, it's overcome, right? It wasn't pushed far enough. We didn't realize that they had infiltrated already everywhere. And then they slowly built up, and now they're pretty much in control. Do they win? No, they never win. They're not as smart as we are. We're very creative. They use our creativity. They enslave us and take our power. This time, we win.
So we know that the monetary system is corrupt because it's not backed by, tangible asset like gold and silver, because we are not on the gold standard. It's merely backed by thin air and debt and interest. So all the contracts that we have, or the banks have with the public, i.e. banks, mortgages, loans, student loans, because all that money is illegal, and it's not real money as we know it. Mm-hmm. What would happen to those loans if it is corrupt and fraudulent, and we were to move over onto a proper, real digital, system that is backed by tangible, real assets? That's true money. What happens then?
Well, the key word, like you said, is corrupt loans. So do they do corrupt loans towards most people? Yes, those will be forgiven. Now, did some people use that system for corruption on their part? Yes, those people, they're not going to be forgiven, right? So at some point, everyone's going to be taken care of. This world is amazing. The resources this world has is beyond belief. We've been brainwashed into believing that it's finite. There is no finite to the beauty, the abundance that's available to each and every one of us. They have trained that into us, that we have to work like slaves to get any piece of that abundance. That abundance is ours. We are sovereign. All the abundance of the earth is available to us. And if and when we collapse their system and we go and we basically move away from their system, we create a new one. Everyone has everything they need. And then people that want to go beyond that, maybe go off world, build spaceships to Mars, like Elon Musk is talking about 1,000 plus spaceships to Mars, you're going to have that ability. If you want to go to Venus, you're going to have that ability. So all of these things are coming, but we have to break this one system that's pushing us down, controlling us, controlling our consciousness, controlling the information that we get, and dumbing us down with stupid stuff that doesn't make sense and basically doesn't work in reality.
Absolutely. Well, Michael, Jaco, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. It's been a great time having you on, like always. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish today?
Yeah, they can check me out on michaelkjaco.com. I have lots of stuff over there. I have courses. I have clothing wear. So lots of stuff. I have my own basically Facebook channel, and I have shows and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff over there. But what I want everybody to know is ultimately that we are all love. We're connected to love, and stay in that love vibration, and we can master all the things that are happening to us, and we can overcome them.
Absolutely. Well, Michael, Jaco, thank you so much. And we'll speak again very soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bless you, Nicholas. Thank you.